Nero, the mad emperor who built paradise on ashes. Nothing born from me and Agrippina could turn out to be anything but detestable and a public threat. According to Suetonius, these words were spoken by Nero's father, Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus, at his birth. Indeed, the Emperor Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, better known as Nero, is often described as a bloodthirsty tyrant and a paranoid man teetering on the edge of madness. A man obsessed with the fear of being assassinated by his enemies, thirsty for power, afflicted by a craving for the spotlight, a lover of wild festivities, and above all, the one who allegedly set fire to Rome in 64 AD. This is the image of Nero that has been passed down to us. But was he truly like this? Certainly, during his 13-year reign, he managed to eliminate all those who stood in his way. From his stepbrother Britannicus, who could claim the throne as the son of his predecessor Claudius, to his mother Agrippina, accused of conspiring against him. He later disposed of his wife Octavia to marry his lover Poppaea, and exiled and forced his mentor and advisor Seneca to commit suicide. In truth, however, he was neither the first nor the last to orchestrate conspiracies. So why is Nero shrouded in such a sinister aura compared to other emperors no less cruel and bloodthirsty? The reason lies in the negative accounts of Nero originating from hostile sources. Historians belonging to political factions opposed to his policies, such as the senatorial aristocracy. Only recent studies have reevaluated the emperor, portraying him as a dreamer, a man who loved beauty and cared for his people. But who is right? The rise to power of young Nero. Nero was born in 37 AD and became emperor in 54 AD at just 17 years old. But why was he the one to succeed Claudius? The credit goes to his mother, Agrippina, a highly ambitious woman who was not only the daughter of the military hero Germanicus and Agrippina the Elder, granddaughter of Augustus, but also became Emperor Claudius's second wife. Before achieving this, however, she was exiled by her brother Caligula, who accused her of plotting against him, depriving the young Nero of his mother's care. Young Nero suddenly found himself penniless as well, as Caligula confiscated his entire inheritance after his father's death. When Caligula was assassinated in 41 AD, Agrippina finally returned from exile and dedicated herself to her son's education, for whom she had grand plans. She initially entrusted him to 2 Greek freedmen who taught him Greek and Latin. At age 12, she assigned him Seneca, the most renowned philosopher of the time. To accelerate his rise to power, once Claudius was widowed, Agrippina focused all her energy on defeating rival candidates and marrying him. At this point, Claudius adopted Nero, leaving Britannicus, Claudius's only biological son, though of frail health, as his sole rival. Agrippina took no risks and, in 54 AD, allegedly poisoned Claudius, according to the prevailing account, clearing the path for Nero. After being acclaimed by the Praetorian Guard, to whom Agrippina reportedly delayed announcing Claudius's death until securing her son's succession, the Senate ratified his ascension, marking the start of Nero's reign. His first 5 years of rule were marked by moderation, during which Nero pursued policies favorable to the Senate under the guidance of Seneca and his mother, who influenced many of his decisions. Soon, however, their relationship began to fray, particularly due to the arrival of the beautiful Poppaea, a source of turmoil and indignation for both Octavia, his wife, and Agrippina. For now, Nero focused on neutralizing Britannicus, who at 14 was becoming a dangerous rival. According to Tacitus, to resolve this issue, Nero sought help from Locusta, a trusted professional poisoner who had already orchestrated Claudius's assassination. Britannicus was invited to a banquet, where he was offered a very hot drink that had already been tasted and deemed safe. Indeed, the Romans, during both the Republican and Imperial eras, employed pregustatores, official food tasters, selected from slaves and liberty, freed slaves, who were forced to eat and drink everything served at the table to ensure it was not poisoned. Some even leveraged this perilous role to advance their social standing. However, finding it scalding, he requested that it be diluted with water, a prearranged vessel containing the poison. While it is unclear if events unfolded exactly this way, it is known that his death was preceded by an alleged epileptic seizure, a condition Britannicus reportedly suffered from, allowing Nero to dismiss the incident as a natural consequence. Growing weary of Agrippina's threats, Suetonius recounts that Nero resolved to eliminate her. He first tried poison 3 times without success. He then rigged a mechanism in her bedroom ceiling to collapse on her at night. But this plan also failed. Next, he arranged for her to drown in a staged shipwreck, but she survived again. Finally, in 59 AD, he ordered her to be stabbed to death. With his mother gone, he divorced Octavia, accusing her of adultery. She was exiled and later executed, allowing him to marry Poppaea. Seneca, realizing he was the last remaining advisor alive, chose to retire. The prominent figure closest to Nero then became Tigellinus, appointed Praetorian prefect. Notably, Tigellinus had previously been exiled for adultery with Agrippina, but upon returning to Rome became the emperor's friend, likely due to their shared passions and excesses. From this point, Nero, free from all restraint, embarked on a life of debauchery, luxury, avarice, and unchecked cruelty. But something was about to happen that would change not only the emperor's fate, but also that of his city. The Great Fire of Rome. Between July 18th and 19th, 64 AD, a tragedy unfolded that would alter Nero's and Rome's history. A massive fire remembered for centuries. It was a sweltering summer night with strong winds, ideal conditions for a blaze to spread. Was the fire arson or accidental? The truth remains uncertain. For centuries, historians have clashed over these 2 competing theories. What is certain is that such a fire could have erupted at any time, given Rome's dry summer heat and the abundance of flammable materials like wood. Additionally, countless fires were lit daily for various purposes, from cooking to workshops. Nearly 2 millennia later, the fire's origin is pinpointed to the Circus Maximus. Its arcades housed shops, workshops, and storerooms, likely where the first spark ignited. According to Tacitus, flames spread rapidly, engulfing the entire circus. The efforts of the vigils, firefighters, who rushed to the scene proved futile, despite reports of as many as 7,000 stationed in Nero's Rome, due to the woefully inadequate methods they employed. Before the fire, Rome was the ancient world's largest and most populous city. By July 28th, when the fire ended, it lay in ruins, its history reduced to ash, with thousands dead. The Palatine Hill, severely devastated, housed the palaces of Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, and Nero's new Domus Transitoria. A devastating blow. How did the emperor react? Here, too, accounts clash. Some claim he was deliriously enraptured by the spectacle, almost certainly a smear campaign's invention, while others argue he actively participated in relief efforts. Rumors immediately swirled. Romans began to ask, did Nero himself order the fire? Legend holds that Tigellinus, the Praetorian prefect, carried it out on Nero's orders. This suspicion grew when, after 6 days, the fire reignited in an open area near Tigellinus's property. Why would Nero want his capital destroyed? Many accuse him of wanting to rebuild Rome in his image, particularly to realize his dream of a grand palace requiring 1/3 of the city's land. Though emperor, he lacked the legal authority to seize such vast territory. Thus, he likely exploited the fire, perhaps ordering his trusted lieutenant Tigellinus to reignite or stoke the flames with accomplices. What is certain is that after the blaze, Nero requisitioned the entire area, demolished ruins, and built over the Forum. Nero transformed the capital into a massive construction site. The new Rome would be clad in precious materials like marble, granite, travertine, and tuff, abandoning flammable wood. Malicious rumors about him persisted, and Nero, determined to silence them, knew he must redirect attention by scapegoating a vulnerable target. He pinned the entire blame for the disaster on Christians, a small, long marginalized sect. At the time, Christianity was merely one of many cults proliferating across the empire. It initially gained traction among the lower classes, offering hope of eternal happiness in paradise, even for the poorest. Under Tigellinus's command, the Praetorians launched a relentless hunt for Christians, who faced insurmountable odds against the charges leveled against them. Those captured met summary execution, no trials, only agonizing deaths designed as public spectacles to appease the bloodthirsty crowds. Beyond being devoured by wild beasts in the arena, damnatio ad bestias, or crucified along the roads, as tradition holds befell the Apostle Peter, some Christians were doused in pitch and burned alive as human torches. Though the fire temporarily overshadowed the emperor's escalating abuses of power, the reckoning was imminent. The Pisonian conspiracy and final years. According to the most credible account, after ordering a series of murders to protect her, Nero killed Poppaea in a fit of rage, striking her, while pregnant, with a punch. In the days following her death, he ordered her body embalmed, following Eastern customs she favored, instead of the traditional Roman cremation. It was only the beginning of the end. In 65 AD, Senator Gaius Calpurnius Piso organized a conspiracy against Nero, involving close associates and soldiers seeking a morally upright emperor. Nero uncovered the plot and harshly punished suspects. Piso committed suicide as imperial guards arrived. Suspicion then fell on Seneca, Nero's former tutor, who was interrogated. Despite denying involvement, he was advised to commit suicide to avoid humiliating arrest. Deeming himself doomed, Seneca took his life. Having survived the coup, Nero decided to retreat to Greece, possibly fearing further plots and fulfilling a lifelong dream. This journey marked one of his rare ventures beyond Rome, as he had steadfastly refused to lead his armies into battle. His foreign policy focused on diplomacy and containment, except for annexing Armenia to secure Roman hegemony against the Parthians and suppressing a British revolt. Nero lingered in Greece for an extended period, showcasing his enduring fascination with Hellenistic culture. In 66 AD, upon arriving in Corinth during the Isthmian Games, he declared freedom for the Greeks. This proclamation did not grant political independence from the empire, but instead exempted them from tribute payments and liberated them from Roman magistrates' oversight in local governance. This decision thrilled Greeks, especially tax relief, but outraged Romans. By late 67 AD, for unclear reasons, Nero was urgently summoned back to Rome. Rebellions erupted in the provinces, the Senate turned against him, and he was left isolated. One night, finding the palace deserted and abandoned even by loyalists, Nero fled to a freedman's villa. There, he learned the Senate had deposed him and declared him a public enemy. Cornered, he attempted suicide by stabbing his throat but failed. His freedman Epaphroditus assisted him, driving the dagger deep on June 9, 68 AD, Nero's successors. After Nero's death, leaving no heir, the empire plunged into civil war. Power shifted to the legions, who proclaimed 4 emperors in just 2 years: Galba for 7 months, Otho for 3 months, Vitellius for 9 months, and finally Vespasian, commander of the Eastern legions, who restored order and ruled for a decade from 69 to 79 AD. Founder of the Flavian dynasty, Vespasian began constructing the Colosseum, also known as Flavian Amphitheater, in 72 AD. Its name derives from the nearby Colossus of Nero, a colossal gilded bronze statue depicting the emperor as a god. Vespasian modified it, replacing Nero's head with that of the sun god, crowned with 7 rays. His son Titus completed and inaugurated the Colosseum in 80 AD. His brother Domitian was the dynasty's last ruler. The Flavian dynasty formally condemned Nero to damnatio memoriae, the systematic erasure of all memory of him, including every statue, inscription, and work he commissioned. This practice originated in the Republican era with noble intent. Romans believed purging traces of dishonorable deeds from history would prevent their repetition. This is why even today, figures like Nero remain shrouded in ambiguity, despite historians debunking many of the myths that once vilified them. Nero and the people. Beyond the bloodthirsty, politically ruthless Nero, or the matricidal, uxoricidal tyrant, there was also Nero the populist, attentive to the lower classes. According to those who believe in his good faith, it is said that in the early years of his reign, Nero would disguise himself and venture out at night to eavesdrop on conversations and uncover the people's grievances. He even allegedly instructed his prefects to document accusations made by slaves, who endured inhumane conditions and brutal abuse by their masters during this era. While this was undoubtedly a calculated strategy to curry favor with the Roman populace and undermine the Senate, the policies enacted, however self-serving, marked a rare, if flawed, acknowledgement of systemic injustice. For example, he granted 400 sesterces to each citizen and distributed free grain monthly. He devalued gold currency, used by the wealthy, boosting silver's economic power, favored by merchants and artisans. Like countless rulers before and after him, Nero harnessed the power of spectacle to win public favor. A devoted enthusiast of the arts, he founded the Neronian Games in Rome, competitions of music and poetry. What set this emperor apart was his unshakable belief, perhaps stoked by sycophantic courtiers, in his own artistic genius. He performed not in one discipline, but many, as a lyre player, singer, poet, actor, and even dancer. Yet he proceeded cautiously. Rather than debuting immediately after his ascension, he waited a decade, first showcasing his talents as a singer in Naples, a city far from Rome's critical gaze. Accounts claim he received multiple encores, and despite the scandal of an emperor taking the stage as a performer, the acclaim only fueled his ambitions. How was Nero as a singer? Accounts describe a hoarse, deep, powerful voice. He took his craft seriously, writing his own lyrics. He followed a vocal regimen, avoiding apples, believed to harm vocal cords, and gorging on dried figs, thought to soothe singers' throats. Nero's architectural legacy: the Domus Transitoria and Domus Aurea. The Domus Transitoria stands as a quintessential example of Nero's pre-fire architectural ambition. Its name derives from its function as a transitional space linking the Palatine and Esquiline hills. Short-lived, it was soon eclipsed by the Domus Aurea, Golden House, constructed atop its foundations after the Great Fire of 64 AD, a palace so opulent it redefined imperial excess. Though little remains of the Domus Transitoria, its remnants showcase Nero's penchant for grandeur. Marble floors inlaid with opus sectile, intricate geometric patterns crafted from colored stone slabs, vaulted ceilings adorned with gold leaf frescoes, and a Nymphaeum theater blending art and nature. The Domus Aurea, however, was Nero's magnum opus. Spanning 4 of Rome's hills, it earned the epithet Rus in Urbe, countryside within the city, for its sprawling gardens, vineyards, and pastures juxtaposed against marble pavilions. At its heart lay the Stagnum Neronis, an artificial lake later drained to make way for the Colosseum. Dominating the estate's entrance was the Colossus of Nero, a 100-foot bronze statue by Greek sculptor Zenodorus, glinting in the sun, a symbol of the emperor's godlike aspirations. Today, only fragments of the Domus Aurea survive, yet its original footprint spanned 16,000 square meters, with 30,000 square meters of frescoes. Nero filled it with plundered Hellenistic treasures, including the Laocoon group, unearthed on the Oppian Hill in the 16th century. This masterpiece, now in the Vatican museums, depicts the Trojan priest and his sons ensnared by sea serpents, a divine punishment for defying Poseidon. The palace's crowning marvel was the octagonal hall, a radical departure from Roman norms. Topped by an oculus that bathed the room in sunlight, its 8-sided design drew inspiration from Eastern palaces, marking the first use of such geometry in Roman architecture. Here, Nero hosted lavish banquets, showcasing his stolen art to awestruck guests. Epilogue: Nero's contradictions. Reviled as a tyrant yet visionary as a patron, Nero remains an enigma, a man of voracious appetites and eclectic passions. His architectural audacity, from the Domus Aurea's splendor to the Colossus's hubris, reshaped Rome's urban landscape. While his reign ended in infamy, his legacy endures in the stones of the Colosseum and the shadows of a palace that dared to reimagine the empire.